Greetings everyone, my name is Axel Lugo and today I'll be presenting on ransomware threats and cyber defense in smart manufacturing environments. This topic is especially relevant in modern industry in 4.0 environments where manufacturing systems are highly interconnected and dependent on real-time data, like manufacturing companies such as Bosch, such as Volvo, Cummins, and others. I'll be focusing on how ransomware attacks affect production environments like Bosch, what makes these systems vulnerable, and the defensive strategies used to prevent and respond to these attacks. Why manufacturing is a target? High-value production environments, downtime, immediate financial losses, supply chain dependency, and critical infrastructure. These are some of the reasons why hackers and cybersecurity negative activists target these manufacturing companies. These environments are one of the most attractive targets for cyber attacks, especially ransomware. Basically, ransomware is a type of malware and phishing that targets these production industries that rely on deadlines. So that's where they charge to release data or any type of files that is run into a PLC or into another production software. First, these are high-value production environments. Second, downtime directly translates into financial loss. Third, manufacturing heavily depends on supply chains. If one goes down, their contract might go down and they will lose money. Finally, this manufacturing is considered critical. That means attacks don't just affect a company, it affects the whole ecosystem, users, buyers, and suppliers. Because of these reasons, attackers especially target manufacturing companies, organizations, knowing that the pressure to restore operations quickly increases their payout method. In this slide, we'll talk about cyber attacks and the types. Phishing, denial of service attacks, man-in-the-middle attacks, social engineering. That's right, you guessed it. They will caught us using social media and any type of network where people gather. LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, they will bait and they will hook you. Insider threats, mainly, you guessed it, yes, done by people on the inside of the company. Drive-by downloads, cross-site scripting, malware attacks. In these environments, these are several types that are encountered. Phishing, one of the most common entry points where attackers trick employees into giving up credentials. That's why it's so important to have ICO departments that schedule and create guidelines to follow all these links. Malware attacks introduce malicious softwares into systems. Denial of service that can disrupt communication between systems. Social engineering, we touch on those. And insider threats that involve individuals within the organization who may intentionally or unintentionally expose systems. For example, when we have whistleblowers from different companies that join into our company just to expose some secrets or some bombs or some exploded PDF documents asking for money. That's also a cyber attack and a crime, actually. While all of these are important, ransomware is the most impactful because it directly targets operations and production continuity. What is ransomware? As a manufacturing perspective, it encrypts data, it targets availability of files, it demands payment, like its name suggests, it focuses on operational disruption. This is a type of malware designed to deny access to a system, file, folder, or anything that reads a content into a program or PLC. In this type of environment, it goes beyond files, documents. It targets systems that control production. When these systems are encrypted, production lines can operate normally, and in many cases, it must be shut down completely, meaning millions of dollars lost by the company, the team, and potential loss of customers and relationships with different sister companies. These make ransomware extremely effective in manufacturing because it creates immediate operational disruption, key for this type of attack. How ransomware attacks manufacturing through our IT systems, through lateral movement, target servers and database systems, spread to our OT systems. Let's make a pause and talk about the OT systems. Any OT topic and any OT new 4.0 technology needs to be addressed, because this is a new threat that's just coming up in the last 5 years, where we have all of these devices like cameras, devices like pneumatical actuators, devices like laser readers and vision input, where we have a small hardware that runs on a software and it's connected via Ethernet to an IPC, an industrial programmable computer, where this computer has always most likely an EO, which is a power over Ethernet, or PoE, power over Ethernet. So this has an IP address, and the communication to the IPC can be blocked or can be encrypted, causing one small component of a PLC to fail and generate the ransomware actual threat. Once inside, the attackers, they move laterally across the network looking for valuable systems. Then they target servers and databases. From there, the attack can spread to our operational technology environments, meaning from the PLC to the LDS, line data server, back to the server where all the information is located, which it should be encrypted, but once they have a range of that IP address and they're not kicked out by the actual network, they could extract some files, and after that proceed to encrypt them. Why manufacturing systems are vulnerable? These and global automotive suppliers are targeted because of their timelines, because of their cash flow, and how human factors can leave room for an exploitation. In this case, a global automotive supplier was targeted, Bosch, and both enterprise and manufacturing networks were compromised. What this means, the OT side, where physical devices were targeted, and this affected their manufacturing and logistical networks. The attackers, they encrypted scheduling and logistics systems. Once the hacker gets a hold of the OT systems or an range for the LBS, they access either one isolated component or the whole line. At the moment, a small disruption gets generated, all the logistical chain suffers. When they deliver the product, when they finish the product, when they turn in the product, and when they collect the money from sales and from their users. All of this gets affected by one single item and multiple different PLC components. This also caused disruption in the supply chain, which we just mentioned. This is where ransomware becomes a real operational problem, not just an IT issue. It's a user daily check and coordination with management to check all USB ports and make sure there's no device hiding all the data. The impact of ransomware. It impacts the production, it shuts down servers, it shuts down logistical routes. The production engineers and the process engineers and the specialized technicians and all the floor staff loses control of their systems. This ultimately disrupts the supply chain, and of course, there's financial and operational damage. The production shutdown is often the first and most visible effect. Loss of control system means that the operators cannot monitor or manage machine effectively. If there's a disruption into one of the PLC components, then finally The operational damage, greatly substantial, includes loss of revenue, recovery costs, and reputational damage. This shows why ransomware is considered one of the most serious threats in modern manufacturing. Proactive defense from the operational standpoint. Preventing ransomware requires a proactive approach. These companies must separate IT and OT networks. IT devices are connected to a greater client network, a more open, not open source, but open to internal users to share files, to share presentations, and to share different needed, not operational information, but more logistical and day-to-day corporate activities. For example, an HR department talking to the IT department about the new computers for the new interns, or the replacement printers for the production department or the testing department. In the OT side, an OT network, it could be an LDS, a line data server, that communicates 32 stations that are in charge of the present process and then the final assembly process. One of the most important strategies is network segmentation, like we just mentioned, between the IT and the OT realm. Multi-factor authentication adds a single layer for mobile devices like iPads. Some laptops have this type of authentication systems, and phones. Employee cybersecurity training, critical to prevent attacks like phishing. And continuous monitoring allows organizations to detect unusual activity early and suspend the account in worst case scenario, or just communicate to the user, hey, you can be surfing these websites. Or my favorite in the IT realm is to send a test phishing email to a user that is known to be click happy, and then invite them quarterly to a training in order to be able to recognize. It's training of the users. Together, these measures help reduce the risk of ransomware entering and spreading within the manufacturing systems. Reactive defense. There must be an incident response plan. The network needs to be isolated. There needs to be regular backups for systems, for files, and for programs that happen OTA, over the air. The HR will trigger a forensic, not HR, mostly the legal departments will either hire third-party contractors or we'll have the process engineers do kind of like a forensic investigation. This just means studying where the file went, point A to point B, user that was involved in that utilization, and the device, what time, what network, and what packages were handled. And there needs to be a control system restart, which is a nightmare for production departments. Like we talk about, the first step will be to isolate the infected systems and have an incident response plans. The backup recovery essential for restoring systems, and a control system restart needs to be done in order to make sure that the IPCs can start within the LDS and all the OT devices are successfully connected to the required networks. Concluding for our last slide, just a brief mention of the reference. You can see them on screen, and we need to address the ransomware and how it affects production companies. We talked about how the logistical chain gets disrupted and how these attacks go beyond data and directly impact production and operations. These manufacturing environments are especially vulnerable due to their complexity, connectivity, and the most important, user-based interaction and errors. However, Through these proactive defense strategies and strong incident response planning, yes, I'm talking to you, ICO department and cybersecurity departments, people in IT do their best to support everybody. So they need a break from this one. Organizations, they can help reduce risk and improve resilience. Ultimately, cybersecurity in manufacturing is not just about protecting systems, but it's more about ensuring data it's kept safe within their respective networks and no external or malicious internal attacks are being made to these different IT and OT segmented networks. Thanks for your time, and I hope you have enjoyed my presentation.